Hey everybody, it's GombletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing one last quick draft of Innistrad Crimson Vow before the format rotates off Arena. These drafts are going for another 24 hours at the time of recording, so again, just wanted to hop into one final draft here. So without further ado, let's see what we want to pick pack one here. So pretty weak pack overall. Our rare certainly leaves something to be desired, as well as most of our uncommons. Boarded Window and Cloak Cadet, pretty much unplayable, although Foreboding Statue is a fun card to play around with, a nice little ramp mana rock that becomes a 5/5 creature later in the game, so it becomes a threat on its own. Pretty fun card. It's pretty slow, so it's not the best thing ever, but it is a generic card. It is a colorless card, so it fits into any colors we end up in. So that is my favorite uncommon out of the pack. As far as commons go, Cruel Witness is a fine evasive threat, Cradle of Safety, fine little combat trick / counterspell. Apprentice, Sharpshooter, and Reckless Impulse are the next best commons there, outside of Bloodcrazed Socialite, which is the best common in the pack. It's just quite a big threatening creature for only that 4 mana. So I think Bloodcrazed Socialite's probably the best card in the pack, the most powerful card. However, Foreboding Statue will fit into more decks just by virtue of being colorless. So I think I'm going to go with Foreboding Statue here, but I wouldn't put it past anybody to just slam the Bloodcrazed Socialite here. Relatively weak pack in general, having to take just a decently powered common or a somewhat weak uncommon. So pack 2 here, we have 2 very good uncommons. Unlike last pack, we have Brinecomer, a great blue-white disturb uncommon, and Wandering Mind, a really good blue-red spells uncommon. I think these are both very comparably powerful. They're both just super great. Little 3 mana cards that give you a lot of value. Brinecomer by spitting out a bunch of spirit tokens, and Wandering Mind by consistently drawing you an additional card when you cast it. It's also a nice 2/1 evasive threat on its own. I think this pick is really just going to be depending on which of these archetypes you prefer, which you have more fun with. If you're strictly trying to win, it's going to be by which archetype is stronger, which I think is Blue-White Disturb by a bit, so the pick's probably Brinecomer if you're strictly trying to win. But I have a lot more fun with like blue-red spells type decks, so I think I'm going to take Wandering Mind here. Pack 3 here, this pack looks pretty sick. We see another Bloodcrazed Socialite, great black common, Pack Song Pup, really good werewolf card there. But we've got plenty to choose in blue as well. We have a Lantern Bearer, the nice cheap evasive creature that becomes an aura later, Scattered Thoughts, the really good draw spell, and Geistlight Snare, the decent counter spell. I think I'm just going to take Lantern Bearer here. It's a card that tends to get picked pretty early, and I expect the bots to do the same. I do think Scattered Thoughts would be quite powerful in the blue-red color pair, because it's just a huge instant speed value spell. It's going to help us run a lot of counter spells and be able to hold up the mana for them, and still do something with our mana even if our opponent doesn't cast anything that needs to be countered. So I think Scattered Thoughts is super powerful in this color pair. It's also just great value in general, especially with some Disturb cards in your deck, so you can throw those into your grave when you draw 2 other cards. So Scattered Thoughts is a sweet, sweet card, but I'm going to take Lantern Bearer first because I think it's pretty comparably powerful, and I think it tends to get picked up sooner out of those packs. Now we can scoop up a Diver Scab here, which works really well with Disturb cards. It's just a nice, really big blocker that slows down your opponent quite a bit as well. Exploiting to put something on top or bottom of their library. Could be a full-on removal spell, could just slow them down. Some pretty great cards in the other colors here. Traveling Minister for white, had we ended up in blue-white Disturb instead of blue-red spells. Dormant Grove, just an excellent green card, gives you counters throughout the game, or just makes a giant vigilance board state. Pick 5 now, another pretty sweet pack. We've got Evolving Wilds for mana fixing, Flourishing Hunter being an awesome card in green, Lunar Rejection being probably the best blue card for what we're doing here, Obviously incredible against wolves and werewolves, but pretty good against any strategy. 4 mana to bounce their creature and draw a card. You use this late game when they tap out for a 5 mana creature or something and just kind of make them take an extra turn, getting that back on the board while you still chip away with your flyers, just slowing them down, giving you the extra time you need to hopefully close out the game. So I do like Lunar Rejection quite a bit. Probably going to be the pick here. Another excellent pack here, again, Flourishing Hunter, if we were wanting to push into green. But there's also Siphon Essence, a pretty great counterspell. Counters a bomb, a creature planeswalker, and then spits out a blood token. Scattered Thoughts, the excellent draw spell, and even Kessig Flamebreather, a really fun build around for these blue-red decks. You cast a bunch of spells and slowly kill your opponent with this. That being said, if you've watched a lot of my drafts before, you'll know that I really, really like staying open as much as I can. And I think these blue cards are perfectly powerful to just keep taking blue cards, so it's possible we get pushed off of red and end up in blue-white or blue-green or blue-black, something like that. So I don't want to tie myself too much into red. When I have the choice between a pretty equally powerful red card and blue card, I'm going to take the powerful blue card. So I think it's between Siphon Essence and Scattered Thoughts for me here. And I think counterspells tend to run really late in the picks, but so have the Scattered Thoughts. Just a lot of the blue instants have gone nice and late in these quick drafts, so I don't think it matters too much which we take here. They're both pretty great, although I'll start with these Scattered Thoughts. You get a nice bit of card draw there. Pick 7 now. Now these blue cards are very medium. Fear of Death and Soul Cipher Board. Soul Cipher Board just being incredibly slow. And Fear of Death not permanently killing what you target. So here I think I'm pretty happy to just take the Kessig Flamebreather. Now we have Syncopate being probably the best card. Excellent blue counterspell. This counters and exiles, so your opponent can't do any graveyard synergies, which this set has a lot of. There are green cards and black cards that will return cards from the graveyard to the battlefield. There are disturb cards, of course, that can be recast from the grave, so being able to exile whatever you counter is super sweet, and being able to counter any type of spell is also sweet. Syncopate's going to be an awesome counterspell for us. So here it's between Reckless Impulse, Steelclad Spirit, and Cradle of Safety, and I'm going to go ahead and just immediately say that Reckless Impulse is not as much of an option as it would look like. Generally, yeah, it is a sorcery that draws you 2 cards in any colors, so in blue-red that sounds super sweet, but the problem is it's a very big nombo with counter spells, and we are going to be looking to play counter spells when we have a lot of instant speed interaction. Cards like Scattered Thoughts and Lunar Rejection are going to make every counter spell that we pick up just that much better. So we're already looking to play a lot of counter spells, so Reckless Impulse is just really not going to synergize with those well. We can exile a counter spell and then it'll just get stuck there in exile, being uncastable. So it's between Steelclad Spirit and Cradle of Safety. So Spirit, just if we want to muck up the board, make sure we've got some blockers on the ground for the early game threats from our opponent, but I think I'd rather take Cradle of Safety here. It's a nice way to protect our important creatures, like our flyers and stuff, to make sure we're still chipping at our opponent, closing out the game quickly, and hopefully Steelclad Spirit's role of just being on the ground and protecting us can be filled in by cards like Kessig Flamebreather that sit there with 3 toughness on the ground and shred our opponent's life total. Just accomplish 2 things at once. So here we have a lot of mediocre creatures, Daybreak Combatants, Wanderlight Spirits, and Dreadlight Monstrosity, or the decent little instant speed piece of interaction, 2 mana to bounce anything, or 1 mana to bounce our own card. Pretty good card, I'll just scoop up the retrieval here. It's also really good with Cradle of Safety. We could bounce our own Cradle of Safety to recast it, get another hexproof trigger down, bounce our own Wandering Mind to recast it, get another card draw. Actually a lot of synergies for Alchemist Retrieval in this deck already. And we are super happy to see a very late Scattered Thoughts here, absolutely getting in the deck. Now a Serpentine Ambush is a little bit interesting. This is fine if you have like a ton of flyers, but it's only like good if you have the 2 mana 2/1 flyer that draws a card when you target it. But Daybreak Combatants is certainly pretty unexciting. We do get a last pick, Steelclad Spirit, to hold up the ground while we attack in with our flyers, so that's pretty cool. And let's see what we've got here in Pack 2. So in Pack 2 here, interestingly enough, we do have a pretty cool red rare, but it is very, very, very slow. Whereas Lantern Bearer is just always consistently good at any point of the game. So I think I'm just going to take the common Lantern Bearer over this red rare. This is not a bad card, but again, we're so much heavier into blue than red. We're 100% playing Lantern Bearer, even if we get pushed into another color. And I honestly don't think Kessig Wolfrider is that much better than Lantern Bearer. So we're going to scoop that up here. Unfortunate pack 2 for us here. Just nothing in our colors. I guess Fearful Villager is okay in red. Off color, this is just a really weak pack in general. I guess the best off color card would be like Parasitic Grasp here, probably. Nice cheap removal that also gains you some life, so it's really kind of Parasitic Grasp or Fearful Villager. Not super pumped about this pack. I guess I'm just taking Fearful Villager at that rate. Pack 3, or Pack 2, Pick 3, we see a bunch of incredible white cards. Imagine how this draft would have gone had we taken the blue-white uncommon over the blue-red one. Pretty filler red creatures, pretty filler blue creature. I think I'm just going to take the best card in the pack, which is probably Valorous Stance. Pretty flexible removal spell. It kills a big card, or it can protect one of your cards with Indestructible. It's also cheap and instant speed. It's probably a bit better than Traveling Minister or Sigarda's Imprisonment, but those are both also excellent cards. Take a Valorous Stance here, see if it pans out at all. Possible it doesn't, but we do see Sigarda's Imprisonment here for another removal spell. Distracting Guys for a nice aggressive card. This pack does have Scattered Thoughts and Cradle of Safety, but we already have 2 Thoughts and 1 Cradle, so we're not missing out a ton by not taking a blue card here. Getting like no red pass to us here, pick 4. So I think I'm cool to just slam another white card here and just be a bit sad that we took Wandering Mind over the blue-white Disturb card. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Sigarda's Imprisonment. More pretty mediocre red creatures here. A decent white one, the Panicked Bystander. 2 mana 2/2 that gains you a little bit of life. If you manage to gain 3 life in 1 turn, turns into a 2 mana 3/5, which is insane. So I like Panicked Bystander here. Heron Blessed Geist is at its best in blue-white, because that's when you can consistently have enchantments on the board to spit out 2 1/1 flyers when this is in your grave, but even then, not the craziest card ever. I think I'd rather take Panicked Bystander first. And I think that's what I'll do here. We do see a pick 6 Brinecomber this pack, so I suppose we have pivoted into blue-white here. We did not get the Soul Read pack 1 of getting the first Brinecomber, but at this point we can just get the good old traditional read of, yeah, we're getting past a lot of good white cards and not a ton of good red or anything else. So this pack is going to be an easy Kindly Ancestor, 3 mana 2/3 lifelink to clog up the board, and it's got that Disturb effect that's excellent for us. Nurturing Presence is solid in these blue-white Disturb decks, because it's another enchantment to get on the board. It's a 2 mana 1/1 flyer at worst, and it does buff your creature whenever another creature is entering the battlefield. So it's better than it looks. It looks like a really awkward, just cheap, unplayable aura, but it does a little bit of work. Definitely more than an Allenbrook or Allenbach Escort is going to do for us. Traveling Minister pick 9. All right. Yeah, we have moved into easy mode now. Another Nurturing Presence here. Just really not a fan of Fear of Death. And we do have 2 pretty good white removal spells now. We have the Valorous Stance and the Sigarda's Imprisonment. I don't love Ceremonial Knife in like blue-white, because it only adds 1 extra damage, and you don't really need the blood that much, but at the same time everything else in this pack is completely unplayable, so we might run a Ceremonial Knife. Probably. Would I prefer a second Cradle of Safety over a third Nurturing Presence? I think so. But in blue-white, we just have a bunch of weak, pretty interchangeable creatures, so we don't really need Cradle of Safety that much. We don't have much we're actually actively trying to protect. I guess it is really good with Brinecomber, because we target the Brinecomber, get another 1/1, and stop whatever thing they were trying to do to kill our Brinecomber. But yeah, most of our creatures are so weak, we just don't need to protect them. But I think we probably still take Cradle over Nurturing Presence. I don't know. We've got 2 Presents already. Let's get a second Cradle. Could play Fear of Death, although I still wouldn't really want to. See what it looks like for pack 3. Well, pack 3 is going to be very easy for us. There's just one option in this pack. Militia Rallier, Repository Scab do not do much in our deck. I guess Repository Scab does a little bit of work. We've got some Disturb cards to sacrifice for it and a lot of instants and sorceries. So Repository Scab is an option. Or Serpentine Ambush just because we have flyers, but Diver Scab's definitely the strongest option here. Just a big exploit trigger and a nice big body for blocking. Another Sigarda's Imprisonment here. Seems pretty easy to me. Yep, Binding Geist would be fine. Chill of the Grave would be fine. Not as good as Sigarda's Imprisonment though. Just a great removal spell. Right, I do love me a Heron of Hope, a really big, annoying flyer. It ups all of your life gain by 1, and it gives itself lifelink, so it's just a really hard card to race with how much life it gains. Another Lantern Bearer is perfect. This is the premium common for these blue-white Disturb decks, and we are going to take it over a Siphon Essence here just because it's so good. Not much going on here. Third Cradle of Safety. We're very unlikely to play 3 of them, though. Now, Siphon Essence, Alchemist Retrieval, Mischievous Catgeist. Flame Blessed Bolt, pick 6, but we're not red anymore. So Siphon Essence, Alchemist Retrieval, and Catgeist. Now we're going to start looking at our creature count. 13 creatures, a bit low. I think I go Catgeist here. With that kind of creature count, I would ideally not play Ambush or these Steelclad Serpents, although I guess we do have a ton of enchantments, so we could do the Steelclad Spirits. Yeah, I kind of don't want to play Ceremonial Knife. I think we do need more creatures. We'll take a Catgeist here. Now we've got Repository Scab or Binding Geist. What's our count looking like? Still 6 instants in here. Think I like Repository Scab over Binding Geist. The 1 toughness is a pretty big deal breaker. And the Disturb part of this card, you're not getting that much value by disturbing it from your grave, whereas disturbing a Lantern Bearer is a pretty huge deal because you can put this on something like a Steelclad Spirit, all of a sudden you have a 4/4 flyer, or you can put it on a Kindly Ancestor, have a 3/4 flying lifelink. So the disturb on Lantern Bearer is like huge. The disturb on Binding Geist is kind of like, make one of their 2/2s an 0/2, I guess, but it still gets to chump block your 5/5 or whatever late game. I guess we're not really running 5/5s or anything, so just shutting off a 2/2 makes it so it's harder for them to race us. Binding Geist is definitely not like bad here, but I think Repository Scab could be really good, because it's good with the Spirit Token, it's good with the Lantern Bearers. We've got nice instants to pick up with it. Supernatural Rescue, Estwald, Shield Basher, Witness the Future. I'm probably not playing any of these. I don't know, I guess we could run a Witness the Future just to like make sure we don't mill ourselves if we play a bunch of, if we play Fear of Death and Double Scattered Thoughts and all that kind of stuff. This does set up your library really well. If you're playing a deck that self-mills a bunch, you can get to a point where, you know, if you only have 10 cards left in your library by the time you cast this, you're shuffling 4 non-lands into a library that's small is a pretty big deal. It's going to mean it's going to up the amount of times that you're drawing a relevant card by quite a bit. So I don't know. I'm probably not playing Witness the Future, but it's more likely than Shield Basher or Rescue there. Another Serpentine Ambush. I'm not playing a second Fear of Death. We'll grab the Binding Geist now. Grab a Selhoffen Tumor. Grab a Selhoffen Tumor. Random Uncommon, and another Serpentine Ambush. So definitely have some decisions to make in pack 3, or in pack 3 in deck building. Probably not actually wanting to play Foreboding Statue in this deck, because we're not really ramping into anything. I guess we'd get a Diver Scab out a turn early, and it does become a 5/5 later regardless. But I really don't think this is the deck where Foreboding Statue is actually going to be any good. It's definitely better in like green decks where you do have a lot of 6-mana cards, like the Flourishing Hunter is a huge one. I guess Foreboding Statue does help us splash a Wandering Mind if we want. But with only one way to help splash it, no Evolving Wilds or anything here, it's still going to be a hard sell because we'd have to run like 2 mountains. And that would muck up our mana base quite a bit. Alright, 14 cuts to build the perfect blue-white Disturb deck here. This is not the perfect blue-white Disturb deck here, but we could build a decent one. I still don't love Fear of Death here, even though we could self-mill into some Disturb cards. Don't love the Selhoff and Tumors, even though we could discard some Disturb cards. I kind of like Steelclad Spirits here, though. Because at this point we have 8 auras and all the Disturb cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 Disturb auras, too. Yeah, we have tons of enchantments to get on the board to make sure this can actually attack. So this is going to be really good with Lantern Bear slapped onto it. So I like that a lot. I actually like maybe just even getting rid of Repository Scab and then just getting rid of all our non-aura, non-enchantment, non-creature cards like this random artifact, this random instant, unless they're like a really good instant. Like Serpentine Ambush is certainly not, so just like cut all these non-enchantment things here, like Witness the Future. Scattered Thoughts is really good, Syncopate is really good, Lunar Rejection is really good, a Valor Stance is really good. So we've kind of cut all the ones. We've cut all the ones that aren't just very, very good value in terms of non-enchantment, non-creature cards. Still need to cut more non-creatures though, because we only have 15 creatures. Again, we could cut this Foreboding Statue. It still doesn't make too much sense in here. We've got 3 Cradles. We could cut 1. I really like Lunar Rejection as a tempo card in this deck. Love the Scattered Thoughts. Those are going to be a huge card draw for us. Cigar's Imprisonment, Valor Stance are uncuttable. I feel like Syncopate's uncuttable too. The card's just so good in this format. Nurturing Presence seems just really good in this deck, because this is super good to slap onto a flyer. Just get really aggressive in the sky. But we've got to cut something here. Could even maybe cut a land. What's our average mana cost? 2.5? Suppose we could. So we could cut like 1 Cradle, 1 Statue, 16 blue, 10 white. Cut 1 Plains, because we don't have any double white. We could also go an 8-8 split with this deck. That wouldn't be that bad. We do have double Diver Scab, but we don't need double blue until turn 5 anyway. So if our lands are half blue, half white, then once we hit 4 lands on average, we'll have 2 blue sources, and we have to hit 5 lands to hit Diver Scab anyway, so it makes it even slightly more likely to get that blue source for the Diver Scab. That being said, we don't really need the white mana early game that often. We have, 3 blue 1-drops, 3 blue 2-drops. Yeah, I think it's okay if we miss on a Plains early game for a little bit. It's probably more okay than missing on the double blue for Diver Scab turn 5. I think I am going to go 7-9 split. One more cut though, still. I don't know what the cut is. Maybe one of the 2 Scattered Thoughts. One of the 2 Cradles or one of the 2 Nurturing Presences. Again, I like keeping that enchantment count high with the Steelclad Spirit. I don't think I want to cut one of the Scattered Thoughts. I just love that. It's just such a huge card draw spell. Let's cut maybe one of the Cradles. Again, we don't have anything like big to protect, but it is still a big deal when you protect anything with it, even if it isn't like protecting a bomb rare or anything, which is what Cradle's the best at. I think I'm gonna cut a Cradle here. Just go to 1 Cradle, and then I suppose this will be the deck. All right, pretty pumped to see how this deck does as we head into the gameplay. Don't think we made any massive errors during the draft. The biggest thing that we're missing out on is not having 2 copies of Brinecomber, and I think that's not really something we could have foreseen. And I did say when I took the blue-red card over it that Brinecomber does lend itself to the slightly more powerful strategy in this format, which is blue-white over blue-red. But it was literally pick 2, so we couldn't have known that blue-white was going to be more open than blue-red ended up being. So that'll just happen sometimes. We don't get the double Brinecomber dream. But other than that, pretty solid deck here, and we'll see how it does. Here we are now, round 1 of the Innistrad Crimson Vow quick draft. We can keep this hand, but I'm not super pumped about it. Nurturing Presence without anything to put it on for a little bit is a little sad, but casting a Nurturing Presence on a Brinecomber is the opposite of sad. That's pretty awesome. get 2 1/1 spirits out of it, because Brinecomer will become the target of an aura. So Fleeting Spirit, turn 2 from our opponent. Very annoying, one of the better 2-drops in the format. Can protect itself by discarding a card. It can get First Strike by exiling 3 cards from their grave. Very threatening card. We did get a really good drop on turn 2, the Steel-clad Spirit, so that we can get something on the board, spend our mana on turn 2. Although holding up a Syncopate wouldn't have been the end of the world. Alright, well, I'll take this trade all day. Get this Fleeting Spirit out of here. Card is just so annoying to deal with. Now, drop a Brinecomer. Probably traded with the Fleeting Spirit a little early, because our deck does have a lot of 1 toughness things that would be good at blocking it, but card just annoys me. There's a deep hatred within me for the Fleeting Spirit. Had to go. Alright. We can Nurturing Presence, hold up Syncopate, or we can Heron of Hope. Really don't like this Purifier much. Well, nothing we can do about that. Yeah, Purifier with double Minister, this is a massive problem. They're just going to draw an extra card every single turn. There's nothing we can do about that because they don't even have to attack to do it. They just have to tap a Minister to gain the 1 life and then spend 2 in their end step. Try to outrace, or what do I do here? I think I'm gonna Nurturing Presence and just start sending in with a bunch of creatures in the sky. Well, I hate how that auto orders. I thought that maybe... I guess, yeah, Brinecomer's ability resolves before Nurturing Presence hits the board. I thought Brinecomer would be a 3/3 there. We might be able to attack in with it. Still probably better to Nurturing Presence that than one of the flyers, because it means we're just getting more flyers over time. Hold up a Scattered Thoughts or a Syncopate here, maybe? Do you have the mana to play Binding Geist and still hold up a Syncopate for if they cast a 5-mana spell or something? Still very much think that this game is looking really bad, though, if our opponent gets to draw an extra card every turn. You do get to Syncopate that at least. We are kind of hitting them, but they're also just gaining 5,000 life. We get to attack all here because of Binding Geist's trigger. They're still only down to 15 and they gain a bunch of life. They get to attack with Markov Purifier here as well. Add even more life to the life gain train. I guess holding Binding Geist back is just accomplishing more than sending it in. But it feels so counterintuitive. Because if we just hold back forever, they just take over the game with all this card draw. I guess they didn't attack us anyway, so yeah, attacking with Binding Geist did work out to be better. But had they attacked us with a 4/3 Markov Purifier there, we just couldn't block. That would have been super bad. Lantern Bearer, Kindly Ancestor. Having a Lantern Bearer in the graveyard is actually pretty exciting to give Brinecomer flying here. So I think I'd take Kindly Ancestor and a land. Just so Lantern Bearer goes into the grave. Now we hold back Binding Geist this time. Trade with Markov Purifier. Alright, well, we're doing our thing. Trying desperately to outrace a board absolutely chock full of life gain. Especially when our opponent's drawing an extra card per turn too. Alright, we're trading with Kindly Ancestor, and then we're going to disturb Binding Geist to shut off Markov Purifier's power. Brambleworm, that's super, super bad. We do have three, I was going to say, we do have 3 removal spells for it, so it's possible that we top deck. And we did, like a champion. Could play creature for turn instead. They don't attack in that well with Markup Purifier, so might as well. Can bounce off each other for a turn if they want to send in Markup Purifier. Oh, yeah, I guess they do attack in well. So forget about the Ministers again. So if we Binding Geist instead of playing a creature, then they hit for 2 life gain, and if we play a creature instead, they hit for 4 life gain, because we're not going to chump block with Kindly Ancestor, although maybe we will, because we do get to throw it onto Braincomber. This is going to be a long game. Because now we're going to have a super loaded Braincomber. Ooh, Diver Scab. We've got the mana to do that and give Braincomber lifelink, so we'll give Braincomber lifelink. We'll Diver Scab with the fresh 1/1, the brand new 1/1. Get rid of the Markov Purifier. Slow down that life gain. So I guess Diver Scab can also just block Markov Purifier super well, so we could just get rid of a Traveling Minister too. Is it better to get rid of a Minister than Markov Purifier? I feel like it probably isn't. Because I feel like if we get rid of Purifier, they're going to put it on top end and recast, and that soaks up some of their mana, and they don't get an attack in. Either way. I don't know, I guess the Ministers get to gain them life without attacking. Alright, Purifier's back down. A Heron of Hope as well, that's... Well, yeah, I forgot how much frickin' life gain is in this format for century-long games. Oh, that's rough. I guess we can hit 2 Disturb cards, though. Yeah, that's actually kind of sweet, now that I think of it. Because Lunar Rejection's really good here. Get rid of that Heron of Hope for a moment. Although maybe just putting Catgeist on Braincomber is pretty sweet too. Start drawing extra cards, but getting pretty low on cards. And we draw a card by casting this too. Another Diver Scab. Pretty excellent draw. They're going to gain 4 life again off these Traveling Ministers. We're hitting them slightly harder than they're gaining. So we're slowly but surely kind of getting there. Ancestor's Embrace, give the Heron of Hope lifelink. That's going to be a really big target for Diver Scab now. They are at 9 life. If we bounce Heron of Hope, we hit for 2, 6. If we bounce Heron of Hope and give Diver Scab flying, then we win. And we have enough mana to do that. Right? Because 3 plus 3 is 6. We sack one of these. And then plus 3 is 9. Yeah, that should be 1 damage over lethal in the sky. I think we're 1 damage over lethal in the sky. Yeah, this is 10 damage. 1 black mana up. Alright, they scoop them up. Well, that was wild. Our opponent got the 1-2 punch, Traveling Minister, Markov Purifier down like turn 3, so they could just draw an extra card every single turn. And just gain 1,000,000 life throughout that game, and we still managed to just make such a wide board with the Brine Comber to get through it. I guess we were pretty lucky. Our opponent didn't have a Bleed Dry or something for our Brine Comber. That would have been disastrous for us if they could kill our Brine Comber and exile it from the grave. But yeah, what a start. Pretty wild, super long game with all that life gain. Game 2 now, we've got a couple Lantern Bearers in the early game and an Imprisonment for our opponent's Scariest Creature. Big fan of this hand. After that, drawn Scattered Thoughts as well. That's going to be super great. Going to give us some more fuel once we run out. Panicked Bystander, you say? What if I were to cast the same card? Theirs is fancy though, it's all 3D. As you can see by the arm that's mirrored into a very, very thin man on the left. What is this? Vigilance? When an enchanted creature dies, return this to the battlefield transformed under your control, attached to opponent creatures that I control enter the battlefield tapped. Alright, I mean, sure. My creatures enter tapped now. Alright. Or 1-for-1 trade their 2-mana combat trick for my 2-mana creature. This is also fair. We can just Imprison Bystander now and get a 2-for-1 on them. Radiant Grace and Bystander are both knocked out by our 1 card. That feels pretty good. Four mana from our opponent, still mono white here. Vampire Slayer down. Just Scattered Thoughts during their end step. Diver Scab next turn, sacking a Lantern Bearer to bounce their highest mana cost creature. Unless it's just the 2-2, then we might not sacrifice. Alright, there we go. Yeah, we'll definitely Diver Scab that. Pick up a Syncopate, Lunar Rejection? Yeah, Syncopate, Lunar Rejection. We can have the Disturb card in our grave. Here comes the Diver Scab. Make them skip their next draw step, recasting Heron Blessed Geist next turn. Lunar Rejection, make them dump all their mana into recasting it again next turn. And then we have Syncopate up for it if they don't draw another land. Just gonna be as annoying as possible here. They do draw another land, so it'll resolve if they cast it. It's all fair and good. Just a 3-3, we can still attack with a Diver Scab into that. But we could also play another Diver Scab. Be the most annoying blue player in the history of mankind. I feel bad. This is really rude. All around. Just absolutely harassing the mono white player. Get some flying Diver Scabs here. We don't need to. They're already big enough to attack, and I guess they can double block one. That's actually a problem. But I didn't think of that until too late. Alright, no double block, luckily. Drop our Heron and hold up a Syncopate. But we will cast some Lantern Bearers next turn so they can't double block. Guard is Imprisonment. We don't have the mana for Syncopate. That happens. Spell is too cheap to Syncopate. Eight mana. 2 plus 6. We can Steelclad Spirit and have our whole board have flying. But we could also just Lantern Bearer onto the Heron of Hope and the Diver Scab so we can just attack with both right now. I think that's worth it. Just speed up the clock here. We hit for 3 right now. They have to chump block the 4/6. Then they get a couple 1/1 flyers. And they have 3 blockers total. They have to chump block everywhere. Because we're going to have 3 attackers with Steelclad Spirit when we cast Kindly Ancestors Embrace. 4 blockers. Alright. Still very good to just attack all. Actually, if we just imprison one of the flyers, we win on the spot. Because they only have 1 flying blocker. Both of our flyers have at least 3 power. So that is 2-0. This really annoying blue-white Disturb deck. The double Diver Scab this game and Lunar Rejection. Just all of the bounce here. Round 3 now, 2-0 so far. Really awkward hand. We've got both our colors and a removal spell, but it's a late game removal spell. Cradle of Safety does nothing till we draw a creature. Opponent is on the play, we are on the draw. We have like 4 1-mana creatures, like 4 2-mana creatures in this deck. Get a bit greedy here, see if we can't draw one of our 8 1 or 2 drop creatures by turn 2. Looks like we can't, and we might get punished for it. Our opponent starts with just mono red vampire stuff. So, could be a pretty aggressive start from our opponent. They are stuck on 2 mana though, so they also kept a bit of a rocky hand. But yeah, our hand's very much not playing out. We drew a 5 mana card and lands, so we'll still have to wait till turn 4 to do anything. And Daybreak Combatants is pretty huge. Against an empty board, we're going to be taking 6 here down to 12 already on turn 3. That's really rough. 5 drop and some lands. Not what we were gambling for with this greedy keep. So, definitely punished for it. Could certainly cost us the game. Alright, past turn here. At least they only have 2 creatures down still, but they do have a way to give one unblockable with Wedding Invitation to find the final lethal. We could pick up Panicked Bystander and Sigarda's Imprisonment and cast both to shut off all of their current creatures. It's probably just our best bet to survive. Although Steelclad Spirit's a better blocker, even. So we play... Maybe we just play the creatures, play Steelclad Spirit and Panicked Bystander. But their hand could very well just be Flameblessed Bolt, a Braid, And they just wipe our board, smack for 4 again. If they have another Daybreak Combatants in hand and they have the instant speed removal to clear our board, then they just lethal us immediately. Alright, no instant speed removal there. That's definitely helpful. That's some kind of combat trick to win this fight. Alright, sure. We've got a Cradle of Safety in hand for later. For now, I just want to not take damage. Flameblessed Bolt, so they just would rather kill a 3/3 than a 2/2 with their instant speed removal. So they decided not to kill Bystander for that reason. Alright. So we have Cradle of Safety and Valor's Stance to hold up, and we can imprison one of these two. Just trying to stay in the game here. We can also just play a 3-5. If the best they had was just a Flame Blast Bolt, maybe just playing a 3-5 holds them off here. Then we get to keep our removal for bigger threats later. Again, I'm still really scared of the Wedding Invitation for unblockability. Bloody Betrayal too? Okay. I guess they're running Bloody Betrayal. It's pretty rough. Get Active Treason down to 3. Yeah, we're at 3 life with a Wedding Invitation on their board. As soon as they play a 3-power creature, we lose. Unless we draw some of our lifelink. We do have Traveling Minister and... the Ancestor at the bare minimum. That's what I could remember now. We might even have more than that much life gain. Oh yeah, we've got Heron of Hope as well. Got a decent bit of life gain we could get to maybe get back into this one. Yeah, absolutely not. Second Bloody Betrayal here. This is just mono red absolute rudeness from our opponent. Trying to cheese out their games quick. Oh, where's our life gain? I do not want these lands. Sam I am. Well, they are Rakdos. Falconwrath Celebrants here. Can blow that up with Valor's Stance. And we'll have to... unless I just imprison it during our turn instead. I think I imprison it during our turn, actually. Because Valor's Stance is going to be useful to give one of our creatures indestructible if they have a black removal spell. Do Nurturing Presence now, too. What does that do for us? Spits out a flyer, I guess. That's about it. It's not like either of these are going to attack in. We need them as blockers. But let's spit out a flyer here, I guess. I think we're probably dead if they're Rakdos, because now they could just have like Diregraph Scavenger, which drains us for 2 life by exiling a creature from our grave. Gift of Fangs. So 4/3. Oh yeah, they can just... And now Valor's Stance doesn't hit it because it doesn't have 4 toughness, so that is game. Actually, is there any way to gain life? I can gain 1 life off of killing our own Diver Scab, but that puts us to 4 and we still just die. Well, that's rude. That was a really rough game. Kept a greedy hand, got maximum punished for it. Did not hit any of our 1 or 2 mana cards till turn 4 or later. So just took as much damage as possible from their 2 mana 2/1, 3 mana 4/2 type cards. Alright, we're on the play. No cheap creatures here, but at least our curve starts at 3. We even have a 2 mana counterspell. If they have a good 3-drop, I'll keep this one. It's better than our last keep, at least. Playing against another black deck here, another black-red deck. Ragged Recluse. Yeah, I'll allow that. We'll just trade our Binding Geist into it. Use Binding Geist to shut off all their early game plays and save everything else for bigger stuff. Binding Geist trades for 1 and then knocks another one out with -2/-0. So don't even attack here. We get to hold all our mana up now. Ragged Recluse and Doomed Dissenter on their board. Doomed Dissenter spitting out a 2/2 when it dies. Black, red, and green from our opponent. Just go ahead and Sycopate this Socialite and save imprisonments for their next creatures. Because those we don't have to hold up instant speed mana to use those. Are we racing here? We hit for 3, they hit for 3, we hit for 3, they hit for 3. I don't think so. Probably not, but I guess we have Lunar Rejection, Imprisonments, Valorous Stance. We sit here taking 1 every turn, or we just start racing with Binding Geist. Honestly don't know. I don't like either option very much. I don't know, I'll just hold it back. Fifth mana from our opponent, Honored Heirloom. That is really good against our deck. It's going to be very irritating for us. We just don't get to disturb in this matchup. I've said it before, but I do not like the amount of playable graveyard hate in the Innistrad formats. In Limited, it feels like they just shut off all the fun graveyard strategies. That's why I think the kind of Simic self-mill strategy in this format and the last one is pretty much just unplayable. It's just because there's so much just incidental graveyard hate. It's pretty annoying. Incidental main deckable graveyard hate. That being said, I mean, the blue-white Disturb deck is still really good, so maybe green-blue self-mill just kind of sucks. Because blue-white Disturb can still get there against all the graveyard hate. Falcon Wrath Celebrants. I'd rather Valorous Stance that actually keep the imprisonments, because they can kill like 3/3 flyers. So they're a little less narrow. We are out racing our opponent now that we've got a 1/1 flyer alongside our Binding Geist, so I guess we're just going in. Holding up our Lunar Rejection. I don't know, the amount of graveyard hate in Innistrad Midnight Hunt and Innistrad Crimson Vow just feels like, what if they made a Ravnica set where like a quarter of the playable creatures would randomly just like destroy a non-basic land when they enter the battlefield or something. To blow up the mana fixing like the guild gates and stuff. I guess the fairest comparison would be like Call Time. Like in Call Time, there's not very much, just random snow hate. So the snow decks do really just get to pop off. We're just going to imprison everybody here. Everybody gets an imprisonment. You get an imprisonment, you get an imprisonment, you get a -2/-0. Olivia Crimson Bride. Do they have anything in the grave? Oh my god, they do. Alright, well, that'll win the game. Even if we had an imprisonment left over, that's such a huge swing. If we had an imprisonment left over, we imprison that now, but then they have a 4/4 menace and a 3/3 Odious Witch still win the game. Because the Crimson Bride 2-for-1 special. I don't know, I guess we have a shot. I guess I'm not immediately dead because of Lunar Rejection. So maybe for some reason they won't block with Doom Dissenter 2 turns in a row. But Doom Dissenter is indeed 2 blockers and 1 card. Plus it comes back when Olivia attacks again. Take 8. Wow. We might have had a chance if they didn't do that. We would have maybe a top deck that saves us, because we just have to hit them for 7. So all we would need is to top deck an enchantment. Because we bounce that zombie, draw a card, then top deck an enchantment, play it, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Lethal them. But if they braid here, what's our best bet? I guess we know we have an enchantment, so we know we're hitting for 4. Is there any way to get 3 more damage in? I don't know. I think our best bet is still to just Lunar Rejection the token. But I don't think we have a chance anymore. If they had leftover removal. Oh. Well, we were already just dead. Brutal stuff there. Obviously, looking back on it, we could have played our removal more conservatively. But I was just trying to get something done, trying to outrace there. Had we played our removal more conservatively, though, we still get absolutely slapped that game. That was just a rough one. 2 and 2 as we head into round 5. 1 drop, 2 drop. 9 blue sources in this deck. We went for the 9-7 split. Yeah, I'll keep it. 9 blue sources I'll keep here. We have a turn 1, turn 2 play, so we can miss. We can miss the blue source on the first couple turns. We don't need it until turn 3, and even if we miss on turn 3, we're still accomplishing something here. We've got a pretty good start on our curve. Another black-red deck. I guess we'll just play against 3 Rakdos decks in a row. This is the vampire set, so it is going to be popular. Alright, we do hit the blue source on 3 here. Play a Steelclad Spirit or a Lantern Bearer, or hold up a Syncopate. Syncopate worth saving Bystander? I think it is. We're just not going to have the mana to hold this up, because we only have 1 blue source, and every turn we want to cast something, we're going to have to tap that 1 blue source. So I just... Not because this really needs to be countered, but because we're not going to have an opportunity to cast Syncopate in the future, I think we should cast it right there. And if they're trying to kill Panic Bystander with that removal spell, then they probably want it dead. Mischievous Catgeist is fun. Offer the trade here. They'll probably take it. They get a blood token out of the trade. I think we get the Catgeist down, see if we can start drawing cards off of it, maybe. If we're lucky. And then they play something with 2 or less toughness. Honored Heirloom, alright, no creature. But they have 2 mana, Wedding Invitation. Alright, still no creature, so we do get really lucky. We are going to start drawing cards off the Mischievous Catgeist. It's going to be super sweet. Come on, land for turn. No, but we do get a 3-drop, which is better than just playing a Lantern Bearer in the sky. Definitely better than casting a Steelclad Spirit as well. The only way we're going to cast an enchantment is if one of our disturbed creatures dies. Another Jund deck. Probably just like Rakdos splashing Helena and Elena. That's probably what the other Jund deck we were playing was as well. Blood-Crazed Socialite. And Blood-Tithe Harvester. Alright, that's a pretty big turn. Blood-Tithe Harvester is a removal spell for whatever they want. And Blood-Crazed Socialite just hits like a truck. Make Kindly Ancestor 3 power, and Kindly Ancestor gets in here. Get our 4th mana here, which is pretty nice, but it's not going to do anything for us. We just play a Lantern Bearer and a Steelclad Spirit. Yep, just get in with Kindly Ancestor here. Does Blood-Tithe Harvester exile? No, it just -X/-X's. Alright. That's nice. Not bad at all. Now we are going to trade with Blood-Crazed Socialite. Pretty sick. Play our Lantern Bearer, play our Steelclad Spirit. Now we do have an enchantment in the graveyard to throw on Steelclad Spirit, although I guess that's only if they don't Honored Heirloom. If they Honored Heirloom, we're soaking up 3 of their mana, because they have to spend 2 from a land and tap the Heirloom, which is one of their mana sources. Well, they just hit 2 lands off their Reckless Impulse. They might have nothing better to do. Nope, Weaver of Blossoms it is. That means they do not have the mana up to exile our Kindly Ancestor from grave. Ancestor's Embrace will be coming out here, letting our Steelclad Spirit attack. Although there's Diver Scab. But Diver Scab doesn't do a whole ton right now. They just have a 2/3 and a 3/2. And the 3/2 has an enter the battlefield effect I'd rather not let them repeat. So let's just Ancestor here, I think, to attack with Steelclad Spirit. Filtering through their blood tokens, discarding a bunch of lands. Draw some other cards. Blood-Tithe Harvester is... yeah, it is a sorcery. Alright, so they'll just trade it for the Steelclad Spirit straight up. Take 2 in the sky, they're down to 12. Avabrook Caretaker, well, that explains the green. Beginning of combat, they get 2+1/+1 counters wherever they want. If it becomes nighttime, they get 2+1/+1 counters on every single one of their creatures. It has hexproof, so we just can't do anything about it. We can Diver Scab the Belligerent Guest here. Keep attacking for 2 in the sky each turn. We have gained a lot of life. And a 3/5 is big enough to block Avabrook Caretaker. We're not completely out of it. Our opponent's pretty low on life. Usually Avabrook Caretaker's an immediate death sentence, but we still have a chance this game, I think. It's not like a massive chance, but... we're at 33 life, they're at 12. Things do not look that bad. They do get to exile our Mischievous Catgeist from grave, unfortunately. Which is not a super great deal for us, but it's a thing. We definitely want to cast a spell so that they don't flip to night. Flipping tonight would be super bad for us, so do we want to just Scattered Thoughts during our turn or Diver Scab? Again, we don't really need to Diver Scab, we're at a huge amount of life here. We could just wait and keep the Diver Scab for a later time. We definitely can't Catgeist. If I attempt to Catgeist, they'll just exile it. So I think I Scattered Thoughts and see what we hit. Double Nurturing Presence is huge. Yeah, I'm just going to take 2 Nurturing Presences here and just try to close out this game in the sky. Yeah, that's massive. That's a 1/1 flyer, plus we're getting extra damage every time we play a creature. Could even just be lethal next turn. Because we'll have 2 Nurturing Presences on 1 card. Give it +2/+2 when the next spirit comes out. So that'll be a 3/3 Lantern Bearer. Give it +1, that's 4 power, that's 5 when we attack with the spirit. Alright, we don't lethal them next turn, but we do a lot. If we hit a land, we can even double spell. If they try to flip tonight here, we can flip it back today. Diver Scab is so sweet. That 3/5 body is just so important here. Alright, and give the Belligerent Guest unblockable lifelink. Get in 6 life gain here. That dramatically slows down our clock. I forgot about Wedding Invitation's ability to give lifelink. It only does it the 1 time though, so we just have to deal 14 damage. Oh my god, okay. Levy's Attendance is here. 6/6 Menace, and they can spend 3 mana to do a damage wherever they want. So they kill our Lantern Bearer. Well, crap. Then we give Diver Scab flying because they don't have the mana to... Don't have the mana to shoot again right now, so we give it flying and Nurturing Presence on it. Hit for a lot. As long as we don't die next turn, we take 6 plus 7, 11 plus 4, 15 plus 2, 16, 17. Dump a bunch of extra mana, but that doesn't kill us. Yeah, we could just attack everybody here and just not die, and then kill them with Diver Scab in 2 attacks, right? Because Diver Scab's going to be 4 power flying. We play a Nurturing Presence, that's going to be 5 power flying. Traveling Minister 6, so 7 damage this turn. Next turn, Diver Scab is going to be naturally just 4 power. We don't quite get there. We have to get lucky. I don't think we have any other shot but to just get really lucky off a double swing off Diver Scab, so I think we just hit as hard as we can this turn. Every single one when we have is just going to die. I mean, we can Diver Scab instead, sack this 1/1 to put Olivia's Attendance on the top of their library. But if we do that, we don't have the mana to Lantern Bearer, so Lantern Bearer's just gone. We're not giving anything else flying, and we're sitting here attacking with 1/1s, and they're just going to recast Attendance soon enough and kill all our 1/1s anyway. So I think this is literally our only chance to Lantern Bearer while they're tapped out of exiling it. So I think this is the turn we have to just go all in, slap the flying onto Diver Scab. And hope for the best off of these 2 attacks that we're going to get. But they can just kill every non-Diver Scab creature here with Attendance. Down to 9. We've got 12 blood tokens. And they drew into Grizzly Ritual. Well, kill Attendance now. Bounce Belligerent Guest. It's pretty big. I still have Weaver Blossom for that mana. Jesus Christ. I didn't even notice that. I should have tapped for the extra 1 damage first. For 5. Attack for 6. I have to top deck something here. Yep. Might even be better to sacrifice Diver Scab than sacrifice a 1/1 flyer. But I feel like it's probably not, because Diver Scab blocks their whole board pretty well. Just gives us more time, more breathing room. Because like Averbrook Caretaker can put 2 counters on Weaver Blossoms, and then we can block one of the 2 without losing a creature. I'm just going to put the counters on Guest though and not attack this turn. See what we draw. Block. We flip to Night for them. Did we flip to Night for them because we just can't cast anything right now? Not even each other creature. So they have a 5/6 and 8/8 hexproof and a 7/6 trample. Yeah, no. Well, that was a pretty rough draft all around. And the biggest thing that we could have done in gameplay is to play just way more defensively with our removal spells and combat tricks. I think I've been playing too much in just like Kamigawa, like Neon Dynasty mode, where you definitely want to get your value out of your spells while you can. So just curving out with them efficiently, using the removal efficiently to try to outrace people and stuff. I forgot how explosively bomby Crimson Vow was. So I was playing under the wrong mindset, I think would be the biggest thing during gameplay. This format is just so bomby, you have to just like grip your removal spells for dear life, because you never know when your opponent is just going to drop a nuclear bomb and completely flip the course of the game from that point on. So I think I definitely played too loose with my removal, too freely with my removal, to where in a lot of other formats that would be just the correct way to play removal, is just play it efficiently, keep the pressure on your opponent and close things out. But there's just too many cards in this format that will just flip things, like Olivia Crimson Bride and Olivia's Attendants that we played against in those last couple rounds there. So definitely some misplays here with how freely I played my removal, but I think the deck that we drafted is pretty sweet. Pretty good deck overall. Probably could have done better with it. But part of that also comes up to variance. Some very powerful decks from our opponent. 2 and 3 it will be in the final quick draft of Innistrad Crimson Vow for the time being. So that is going to end today's video, but if you're interested in limited content, there will be plenty more in the near future. Dominaria Premier Drafts are back on April 1st for a week, so I'll be doing a ton of those. Ravnica Mixer sealed events, that'll be Guilds of Ravnica, Ravnica Legions, and War of the Spark. 2 packs of each in a sealed event will be out April 8th. Tinkerer's Cube Drafts will be back the week after that, and then 2 weeks after that will be the launch of Streets of New Capenna on Arena, so there's tons of great variety limited coming on Magic Arena in the near future. Stay tuned for that. If you're interested, you can like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send more of these videos to yourself and others. And as always, thank you again very much for watching, and I'll see you soon for some more Magic Arena.